Usually around this time of year, we're talking about Money in the Bank. We have either just watched Money in the Bank or we are getting ready for Money in the Bank. But this year, we obviously haven't gotten Money in the Bank, and it almost appears as though it's been replaced by Night of Champions. But we do finally have an update on Money in the Bank 2026, and it is going to be held in October. And this announcement, for obvious reasons, created a lot of buzz, and there's some good that you can take away, and there's also some bad that you can take away. So, in this video, we're going to be talking about WWE's decision to move Money in the Bank to October and whether it is the right decision or not. But, real quickly, before we get too far ahead in the video, I want to say that if you are a WWE fan, consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. That is all we post is WWE related content. So, if you are a WWE fan, again, consider subscribing. It's free. You can always change your mind later. Last year's Money in the Bank happened on June 7th, which obviously has already passed. So, we're already behind schedule if you want to take a look at it that way. And if you want to take a look at SummerSlam, which is obviously one of WWE's main shows, and a show that they want to make into a WrestleMania esque show, I thought they did a fantastic job at that last year, and Money in the Bank set up so much for SummerSlam last year. The big one being Seth Rollins winning the Money in the Bank briefcase, and then we went on that crazy ride that we went on with Seth Rollins being injured, only for him to not be injured and have the ruse of the century at SummerSlam last year. One of the greatest Money in the Bank cash-ins that we have ever seen happened because Money in the Bank happened last year when it did. So we do know that WWE can create a very compelling story and several compelling stories coming out of Money in the Bank. And as I mentioned earlier, it feels as though WWE is trying to replace Money in the Bank with Night of Champions. And with Night of Champions, and with the winner of both the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring tournaments, those winners will go on to have a title match at SummerSlam. So, in a way, it is kind of used like the Royal Rumble would be. And while, yes, the Money in the Bank winner didn't necessarily guarantee you a spot on the SummerSlam card, it created this mystery about whether a cash in was going to happen or not. Again, look at last year's. We didn't think that we were going to see Seth Rollins at all, let alone did we think that we were going to see him cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase. So now let's talk about this year's Money in the Bank happening in October. Now, this can be viewed as a good thing or a bad thing. Let's take a look at both sides. The bad being we lose a lot of that mystery and a lot of that unknown heading into SummerSlam this year. We're not going to get what we got last year with Seth Rollins and the whole is he going to show up? Is he going to cash in? There's not that looming presence of the briefcase this year with SummerSlam. Now, there is one aspect that can be either good or bad, and that is Money in the Bank this year coming at kind of the dead period for WWE. Usually, when we get to around October, November, December, the holidays start kicking in, and we see a really big dip for the WWE. It's just always what's going to happen. Having Money in the Bank in October this year might fix that because now you're taking that unknown aspect that we normally have going into SummerSlam, but you're carrying it into what is usually the dead period for the WWE. So you have the Money in the Bank briefcase looming over that period constantly. Now, the bad side to that is it's happening during WWE's dead period. And that can also kind of hurt you because maybe eyeballs aren't necessarily going to be on your product when people are getting ready for the holidays, getting ready for Thanksgiving, for Halloween, for Christmas, all that stuff. And the one thing that I need to see take place before all of my final thoughts on this matter are set in stone, I need to see how Night of Champions is going to work with SummerSlam. I need to see that kind of flow that we typically can get from Money in the Bank heading into SummerSlam. I need to see the road being laid out for SummerSlam coming off of Night of Champions. And if we get that, and if it works, then I actually don't mind Money in the Bank being moved to later in the year. Another thing that I don't necessarily know how it's going to work out, so I can't necessarily call it bad right now, but something that I'm really genuinely curious is what's going to happen with the Money in the Bank briefcases this year? Because, again, we talked about it being in October, and that period, again, it's a dead period. Let's be honest. Not a lot happens during that time simply because the superstars of the WWE, the workers, all of them, they're at home. They're on the holiday break. And we usually get a lot of taped pre recorded shows. And obviously, there's not going to be a big monumental thing that happens on a taped show. Unless WWE wants to throw something completely out of left field and give us a title change on a pre recorded show, I don't necessarily see that happening. So, what's going to happen with the Money in the Bank briefcases now? Because the next big show after Money in the Bank now would be the Royal Rumble in 2027. And there's really not a lot to cash in on at the Royal Rumble. Obviously, they can write something in there to make that story kind of work a little bit, but for the most part, it just feels like you're not going to see a cash in happen at the Royal Rumble. And by that point, you're already looking at several months of the Money in the Briefcase holder carrying the briefcase. And that can be a dangerous, dangerous thing because we've seen just how poorly WWE can mess up a Money in the Briefcase winner. Just look at Austin Theory, for example. So there is a lot riding on this decision, and there is a lot that we still don't know, obviously. And again, you can take the good, you can take the bad, and you can kind of decipher it however you want to. And I know earlier in the video I said that I was going to give my thoughts on whether it was the right decision or not. And truth be told, I don't know if it is or not yet, because there are still a lot of things up in the air and a lot of things that I need to see play out. One major thing being, how is Night of Champions going to do in terms of building towards SummerSlam? Again, not saying that Money in the Bank had these huge, massive implications on SummerSlam, but it at the very least added that unknown aspect as we got closer to SummerSlam. And I don't know if you're going to necessarily get that with Night of Champions. Again, we do know that the winners of both the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments do get a title opportunity at SummerSlam. So, in a way, you can kind of look at it as Night of Champions being treated as the Royal Rumble, where we have a better idea of who is going to take on who come WrestleMania, or in this case, SummerSlam. So I need to see how that all works out first before I give my full thoughts, and my thoughts are fully set in stone. But my early thoughts are I'm kind of nervous. I don't know how it's all going to work out. I think it could work, but on the other hand, I think it could end up blowing up in WWE's faces. Again, given that Money in the Bank this year is coming at a dead period for the WWE, again, you can look at that as a good thing, you can look at that as a bad thing. So there is just a lot of stuff up in the air with Money in the Bank and the decision to have it being in October this year. So I'm not going to give my full thoughts quite yet because, again, there are just so many things up in the air. My early gut feeling is I don't care for it. But again, that can change at the drop of a hat. And once I see how WWE is going to navigate Night of Champions and running that into SummerSlam. And then I also need to see how they're going to treat Money in the Bank this year and what's the plan going to be for whoever wins the briefcases. Because again, it's coming at such a weird time because WWE is going to be in that dead period with the holiday break coming up and the pre recorded shows. There's not going to be that many opportunities to cash in the briefcase until we flip the calendar to 2027 and we eventually hit the Royal Rumble at that point. So this is where I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your full thoughts and opinions on WWE's decision to have Money in the Bank happen in October this year. Do you agree with this decision? Do you not agree with this decision? Let me know why you agree or disagree. Again, my thoughts, I'm really up in the air. I'm kind of 50-50 right now. There are some things that I can see myself enjoying. There are other things that I could see myself absolutely hating. So, as always, don't forget to leave all of your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. And while you're down there, swing by the description and click the Linktree link. That is the only link in the description for a reason. That is because it will take you to all of the social media platforms for this channel. I do strongly suggest going and checking out our X page. Besides YouTube, I am most active over on X. We do updates for Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and the PLEs. And we are also over on Instagram and TikTok. Over there, you can expect clips from these videos, and it's just another place for me to post when I do upload a video on here to YouTube. So if you do enjoy these videos and you're looking for some extra content, again, Linktree link in the description. It'll take you to wherever you want to go. So with all that said and finally done, that is going to do it for this video here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. Again, both are free. Both really help out the channel a lot. And of course, if you have made it to this point of the video, I want to say thank you very, very much for taking the time out of your busy day to watch these videos here, because it genuinely does mean the world to me. And as always, stay tuned for more WWE content coming in the future. We'll see you next time.